Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. Welcome to the Game Week 19 pod of the FPL Wire, powered by DreamSetGo. I'm your host, Zoph, and I'm joined as usual by my co-host, Mr. 88% Template, Late Riser. Welcome to the dark side, buddy. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I think the template is about to break, but it feels nice to be on your
I thought
side.
I thought I'd get it in just while we can.
Things are a little merry right now. Been having a few good weeks. Got extremely lucky with the postponements. I managed to dodge quite a few of them, except for the Spurs one right at the beginning, which is quite the opposite in terms of the side of the coin that you faced. So just how FPL is at
Just
the
how the
moment.
lottery is right now. But we have the big man back with us today, Bakar, after his studying exploits. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm good, my bro. It's been a while since we've worked together. FPL wise, I've been doing really well. I've really been happy with my progress. I've risen to 36k, which is really good considering the fact that I was, 190k by Game Week 11. So the past few weeks have been really good for me, and I'm really enjoying FPL at the moment. And these postponements and all are sort of giving me the opportunity to express myself a bit better. So I'm liking it as things are.
But that's not why our listeners have tuned in, Bakar. Tell us about the study leave. How was it?
Very, very, very cozy. Very nice. It went great. I had a good time studying for my exams. Overall really good.
Were Phil and Jack with you in your study group?
Yeah, I mean, if anyone wants to have an idea of how Phil Ford must feel like, I was actually going to say this. Being lectured and tamed by Pep Guardiola. You guys should watch the latest episode of the FPL Wire where you see me being tamed by these two gentlemen right here.
I'm silent. What? I'm completely. I haven't said a word.
Well, I'm already ready. I'm already, bracing myself for the sanction which is to come. So go ahead, Zoph.
Okay.
But are you a City ITK now? Now that you're good friends with Phil and Jack, I'm sure that they can give you some team news and you can feed it to our listeners.
Some much needed tips are needed, I think.
Tip. On that note, let's start. DreamSetGo is India's first sports travel and experiences platform, offering a range of premium end-to-end authentic experiences across football, cricket, tennis, F1, rugby, and golf, among others. From matchday hospitality to VIP stadium tours, from private meet and greets with athletes and legends, to exclusive access to their training sessions, DreamSetGo curates the most fulfilling sports travel packages for fans like you.
That was great, Zoph. It just felt really, really professional. All the stats that you see on our podcast are from the Fantasy Football Scout members area. If you aren't a member already, the season ticker and all the stats are on the members area. Really, really useful. Please click on the link in the description below. Right. I mean, we've changed the agenda of the pod, what, 3 or 4 times in the
And
past couple of
I'm
days? I
just
mean,
so glad we left it to this late. Imagine if we had gone yesterday or the day before. Completely pointless. 90% of the discussion.
FPL right now just feels like a game of Super Mario Brothers. But instead of we've been used to playing in the first level or the second level, this is just eighth level altogether. And because I think these guys recognize that we are at level 8 or level 9, where you have those shit emoji things that are supposed to kill us. It gets really difficult to play this game. And then FPL has handed off those little mushrooms which make us grow bigger, and it makes it easier to cross the level. I think that's where we are at with FPL right now.
Interesting analogy, right? So let's kick off. Let's firstly bring you guys up to date on the situation. Most of you guys are probably already clued in, but for those who aren't, we'll just explain what's been going on recently. So, as you guys know, there have been a bunch of postponements, not including the ones which we are talking about today. This sheet doesn't include that. Certain teams have as many as 3 fixtures waiting to be rescheduled. So, what the Premier League has done in its latest meeting, it has scrapped the replays for round 3 and round 4 of the FA Cup ties, which you can see on this fixture over here. Those were supposed to be sandwiched, I think, right between game week 22 and 23. So that is now a free midweek. And they've specifically stated the reason for doing that was to reschedule the fixtures that had been postponed earlier. So we are expecting a fairly large double game week to drop in 22. There is a possibility of a double in 21 as well, but that is largely contingent on the League Cup 2 legs being made 1 leg, which to me seems a very, very unlikely since they've had the draw yesterday. I don't think that is going to be happening. That being said, there could still be doubles for the teams such as Leicester, who don't really have a free midweek later on in the season. So that is something worth watching. And of course, the other latest development that has happened is now we have been given a second free hit chip to play by FPL yesterday. Before we move on, what are your guys' thoughts on that?
So if I want to know your thoughts, because you were fuming yesterday.
I was, but I'm over it now. I guess you just have to go with the chips that we have dealt, literally.
Yeah. My initial reaction was I was very, very happy about it, but eventually it just comes down to the reaction that you boiled down to. You just have to play the cards you're dealt, and there's nothing really we can do about that.
Right. So
I personally don't mind it. I personally like the idea of an additional free hit, because I'm not totally convinced that those who've already sort of played the free hit benefits those who have, like, because I mean some managers who have already played it have got lucky for sure, but I don't think anyone is at a disadvantage as such. I do think that more strategic planning will sort of come into play more, and this should help the more informed players going forward. Uh, I do think this is a bit of a double-edged sword, though. I mean, I see a lot of managers sort of now the fact that they have this security of an additional free hit to fall back on, they're sort of more open to making like transfers, which they might not do usually. They might not sort of play that responsibly anymore. But I mean, as long as you play rationally and responsibly, I do think that the additional free hit should come to your advantage, and it shouldn't really be used as a get out of jail card, which in a suboptimal situation, because I do think that this should help our listeners and our and the more informed players going forward.
Yeah, my main concern was I don't like the rules changing mid game, and secondly, I didn't want it to be homogenizing the chip strategy for everyone. Right now, based on the information we had yesterday, when we didn't have the information of the Liverpool and the Wolves postponements today, I assume that most people are going to naturally free hit in double game week 22, but I don't think that's going to be happening now, and we shall talk a little bit about that. So I had some material prepared here beforehand, while I think it's a good idea to navigate that game week without the free hit chip, and I'll just go through that first really quick with you guys, because I think that comes in. So first up, I must give credit to Ben Krellin for this chart. Does great work. If you don't follow him, he's absolutely the one account you must follow on Twitter, especially in all this fixture chaos. It's at BENCRELLIN for our audio listeners. So this latest tweet from Ben, he says he expects a double game week 22, a blank game week 30, a double game week 36, Game week 21 could still be a double game week, but it seems less likely. Game week 33 will also be a fairly big double game week, and there are going to be another bunch of blank game weeks and mini double game weeks because there are just so many postponements now to squeeze in. So the potential double game week 22 fixtures, and again, this is a lottery because certain teams have as many as 3 fixtures that need to go. So you could see any of the 3 fixtures that could drop in over here. Arsenal could have Spurs and Chelsea. West Ham could have, I think, Leeds and Norwich, or that could go a little bit later. We just don't know yet, but nothing has been announced yet. I'm expecting it to be announced probably not before Boxing Day, because tomorrow is Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Hopefully before game week 20. But as usual, leave your transfers till very late because this information is important.
And the big elephant in the room here, I think this is a good time to mention that, is that this game week, we just got the news an hour before we got into the pod, that this game week, Liverpool versus Leeds United and Watford versus Wolves is postponed. It's not going to be happening in game week 19. And most of us own at least 2 Liverpool players, if not 3. So I think this has just big implications in terms of chip strategy. It's led to a big U-turn in terms of thinking. And what our initial thoughts are on the same, we'll delve into further later.
Correct. So this is something I had prepared earlier to show why selling Salah ahead of game week 22 was a good idea. But I think now we can possibly expand this discussion to game week 19. Let's just go to the larger ticker. Now, this week, Salah has, well, I'm just trying to locate Liverpool here. Yep, got it. So Salah this week has Leeds. Right after that, they have Leicester away. Then
Salah this week has no game.
Sorry, obviously, this week has no game. And then you have Leicester away, Chelsea away, and then we're expecting him to go to the African Cup of Nations, so he would miss 23 and 24 as well. During that time, somebody like Ronaldo, you could possibly shift around the money to, has Newcastle and Burnley, which are excellent captaincy fixtures both. So you could possibly cover Salah away to Leicester as well. And then game week 21 is Wolves. Not the best, but not the worst. And also at the same time, you can have a look at Son. Son has Palace home this week, Southampton away next week, and Watford away in 21. So if you possibly get both Ronaldo and Son, I think that covers you for captaincy for the next 3 weeks. What are your initial thoughts on this, guys? Is Salah a possible sell for you?
Go on, Pranil.
I still need to, collect my thoughts. The initial instinct is maybe yes, but I want to see if I can get in the players I want to without maybe sacrificing Salah, wherein a huge bunch of the game will sell Salah. I don't know yet what I'm going to do because we've received that information a week ago. I haven't even tried out what kind of moves are possible and all of that.
A week ago? You mean an hour ago?
An hour ago.
Yeah.
An hour ago. Sorry. I had to do that once for that brain fart early out of the pod. But the thinking is that if you're planning to target double game week 22, it looks likely that Spurs, Man United, and West Ham could have potentially good-looking double game weeks, right? And if you're targeting saving your free hit in game week 22, then you're going to bring in these players because they have good fixtures in the follow-up to 22 as well. If, in the fixture ticker that Zoph has in front of us right now, West Ham have Southampton, Watford away, and Palace away now before 22. It's worth mentioning that their game in game week 20 against Watford might be in danger now if it is Watford that is responsible for the Wolves versus Watford game being called off. Do we have that news?
It is. We have in the Premier League. Go ahead, Bakar.
According to the Athletic, it's very likely that the Watford fixture against West Ham is likely to go ahead.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. And
in game week 20. In game week 20. Yeah.
Then talking about Spurs, they have Crystal Palace at home, Southampton away, and Watford away before the double game week. So those are 3 really good fixtures. And then when it comes to United, now Ronaldo suddenly becomes a prime captaincy option because he's facing Newcastle away. It's no doubt he's the best captaincy option this week facing Newcastle away, provided he's fit. Worth pointing out that Ronaldo came to training late. He only started training yesterday,
But that
which was
staggered. Sorry to interrupt you, but that was because of staggered training, not because of his recovery period. Because I've been following this very closely, right, as a Ronaldo owner.
Yeah. I just think you wait until and hear what Ragnick has to say, which is a little later in the day. Just, I think, in the middle of a press conference or in the middle of a pod or after that. After that, you have Burnley and Wolves at home. So if you have sold Salah, Ronaldo covers captaincy quite easily. My big issue, though, is the duration of time between these three games and whether Ronaldo is going to be playing all these three games. He's had a decent enough rest so far, but again, these
Yeah.
games are very closely placed, and you have to, Salah is going to have an extended rest, so you have to think that Salah is going to be very, very fresh. That Liverpool first team is going to be very, very fresh against Leicester. Leicester are going to be playing in close succession. So Leicester are going to have a slightly tired, depleted team. So the Liverpool Leicester game could be quite the scoreline. That's something worth thinking about. So it's not like in my head when you're thinking about game week 19 and 20. I think maybe around 30 to 40% of the players that we own are not guaranteed to play both the game weeks anyway. Like mentally, I had prepared myself for that outcome because of how closely placed the fixtures are, especially between 19 and 20. You're looking at a 2 day gap. That's really, really tight. uh, and the one thing that changes the equation of the free hit is earlier we were thinking of maybe using the free hit in game week 22. Now Liverpool's fixture in game week 22 as it stands is Brentford at home. Now, the game that is postponed for Liverpool is Leeds United at home. Now, if Liverpool have a double game week in game week 22, which reads Brentford at home and Leeds United at home, there's no way you're going to sell Trent. There's no way you're going to sell Jota. Salah is off to AFCON. Mane is off to AFCON. That makes me less inclined to use the chip in game week 22 because I was just looking at my team and I'm not really well placed for game week 22 as things stand. But Zoph and me were having this conversation. I currently own Ramsdale. Arsenal are likely to have a double game week in 22. I own James, who might have a double game week in 22. I'm very happy to play Cancelo in 22 despite a single game week fixture. I'm very happy to play Trent and Jota, who have potentially a very strong double game week. I'm very happy. I own Antonio. I'm very happy to play Antonio. And we have 3 free transfers until game week 22. I think one hit or 2 hits makes your team pretty good for game week 22. So you need to think about. I don't think you come to the conclusion in terms of what you're going to do and when you're going to be playing the free hit chip because we don't know what the fixtures are. If one of those middling teams have a really good fixture of United and Spurs double game week looks really, really good, it's worth using the free hit chip. But I just don't think you decide today. What you do is you bring in these players. The players that we are going to target for the double game week are the same players we're going to target in the next 3 game weeks itself. Spurs, United, West Ham. So you play FPL given the way it is in the next 3 game weeks, and then you decide closer to 22 whether you want to free hit or not.
Spot on. Bakar, anything to add? I think LR, you want to connect there with Bakar?
Bakar, anything to add? He's Zoph.
Yeah. I mean, you've summed it up beautifully, Prunel. I was just going to say that for me personally, selling Salah or not is in my opinion purely team dependent. If you can sort of afford to keep him as long as you fund Ronaldo this week, because the most important thing is for me is not to just look at double game week 21 or 22 in isolation, but the next 2 game weeks as well. And I do think that owning Ronaldo is sort of necessary now, that given that Salah won't be around. So for me, the priority has to be bringing Ronaldo in for the next 2 fixtures against Newcastle and Wolves. Sorry, Newcastle and Burnley. But having said that, if you can afford to keep Salah for Leicester, like you mentioned, Leicester will have a very tough game against City, and then to play Liverpool after 2 days, who will have had a week of rest. I mean, that is a fixture you ideally want Salah for. So for someone like a Zoph, who already has both Salah and Ronaldo, I think the play is to keep Salah because he already has Ronaldo. But for someone who might find it difficult to fund Ronaldo otherwise, then the play might be to sell Salah.
I sort of don't agree with you, and I'm actually quite firmly in the sell Salah camp because I think if you look at the next 3 game weeks, I think.
Wait, Zoph. I think this is one of the few times we're going to hear you saying that statement. Can you just repeat that?
It sounds sacrilegious, doesn't it? Yeah, I'm firmly in the sell Salah camp.
Yeah, I just wanted to hear you say that because this is something I never thought you would say, but go on.
Simply because of the fixtures, right? Ultimately, at Chelsea away, I don't see Salah getting a huge haul. Famous last words, of course. But you don't see, he's very captainable now in one of the next 3 fixtures, right? And I would say Son possibly is captainable in 2 of the next 3 fixtures. Palace at home is a great fixture. Palace have conceded 15 goals in 8 away matches. They're 5th worst for shots on target conceded away. They're quite tight at home, but they're very leaky. in away matches. And Son looked so good. We had some images that Baker sent us earlier. Why don't you talk about those?
We will move to the Spurs focus discussion later, or you want to
Fair
just
enough.
dive into it right?
I mean, it's up to. I think we can talk about
We
it
are
later. I
freestyling
guess.
this one.
Might
Yeah,
as
let's
well
Yeah, we can
freestyle
do
it.
it right now. I think
Let's freestyle it.
Yeah. So where were we? I think we
Son,
lost
we were
our train
talking
of-
about Son.
So we're talking about Spurs right now. We're doing
Yes,
that. Okay.
yes. Why
Great
not?
FPL content.
Why not?
Yeah. So Baker sent me some nice screenshots. Go on.
I haven't actually. I forgot to upload them in the midst of all this chaos, so I don't have the screenshots.
That's fine. That's fine. We're just talking about what Spurs are doing, and essentially, a few good things have happened for Spurs that we saw against Liverpool. And the two important factors were that Eric Dyer and Dele Ali, they and Harry Winks, all of them were not positive for COVID. I'm not sure about Dele, but Winks and Dyer were not positive for COVID, and they got the entire tenure of the break that they did with Antonio Conte, and that led to a visible change in their performance against Liverpool. Uh, I mean, yeah, did look really. I mean, Bowen did him last night in the Carling Cup for that beautiful goal that he scored. But essentially, they're seeing the impact of the Spurs team having time with Antonio Conte, leading to good outputs. And I mean, we saw both Son and Kane look really, really dangerous in that game against Liverpool. They could have easily had. Let's not talk about the refereeing because I think it's been done to death. And yes, it was a game that was unfortunately decided by refereeing rather than skill, because I think the game would have taken a completely different direction if the refereeing was anywhere close to being uh, League One level even. So what has happened is there's a lot of play that's coming from Emerson's side, and they tend to build from that side, which is why it leaves Son completely free on that side. And like you saw, he was playing in a 3-4-1-2, where Son and Kane were up front. But now the thing that everybody is trying to figure is, will they continue with this formation going forward, or will Conte revert back to a 3-4-2-1 where Son is playing a slightly deeper role? Even though Son is playing a slightly deeper role, we saw in the games against Brentford and Norwich before the game against Liverpool that he was really, really dangerous. When you're looking at the numbers, I've looked at the numbers for the last 4 game weeks. Kane is pretty much doubling Son's shot rate and shot in the box rate and all of that. But that's it. If you're looking at the games, Son's just looking really, really threatening to me at the moment. So what do you guys think there?
I think Son is a Bakar. Say the
I
words. Say the
personally
words.
like Son as an option.
Say the two magic words.
I like Son as an no. I like Son as an option, but I still don't think of him as a reliable captaincy option personally, because definitely not this week. Because I think Palace is not as easy fixture as you like. Like Zoph did mention that their away record isn't great, but I mean they're still eighth in the league away from home for XGC, which isn't that bad. I mean that's okay. They're not as bad as someone like a Newcastle. So if I had someone like Ronaldo, if I was looking for a captain this week, I would jump straight to Ronaldo, and I would.
Correct.
I wouldn't be too bothered with Son. I mean, Son in isolation is a great pick to have with the fixtures that Spurs have, and the fact that they have 3 games to come makes me feel that yeah, he is a good option going forward, and especially now that Salah is away, I'm sure a lot of managers will jump on him. Um, Another thing is the fact that I watched the whole game against Liverpool, and he was looking far more threatening in the 3-5-2 than he has looked in the 3-4-3 in recent weeks. So I'm not sure whether the 3-5-2 is there to stay. That could be a small sample. I mean, he had like 3 big chances, could have easily had a hat trick. But I mean, in the 3-4-3, he wasn't posting such good numbers even against the easier sides. So I wonder whether that was just a tactical play from Conte to set up that way. If it continues, then sure. But I need more sort of evidence to captain Son. I don't think he's a realistic
We're not talking about
option at this
Son
point in time.
captaincy. We're just talking about what's happening with Spurs. Nobody's saying captain Son next week. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, like we were roughly discussing the fact that now that Salah is gone, then Spurs have a good fixture this week. I mean, I'm not too confident about Son's potential to be a captaincy option this week. If you're buying him in isolation, then that's perfectly fine in my opinion. Yeah, just because I don't really have enough evidence of how Spurs are going to play like in the weeks to come.
I think the Palace game is actually pretty decent for Son, because Palace like to play a bit. They like to get control of the game. They like to keep possession, and Conte is very, very happy to counter. He conceded. He had lesser possession in the game against Norwich, and he was very, very happy playing that way because he knows that his team is very, very suitable to play on the counter attack. And we know that Vieira employed a very successful low block against the bigger teams previously. But I think in this particular matchup, if Vieira wants to keep control in that game, Conte will be happy to counter. And I feel like Palace just remind me a little bit of Brighton from last season, where they will concede fewer chances, but I expect them to be big chances conceded on the counter. It might suit on.
Great. So, Bakar, let me ask you, do you think Son outscores Salah over the next 3 game weeks? And I'm not even counting 22 here.
Yes, I mean, I don't mind that transfer. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think he does. Yeah.
I'm trying to get you to say no-brainer, but you just refuse to. I've given
No,
up.
I won't buy that.
But yeah, fair enough. I do agree that ultimately Ronaldo is the play, definitely over the next 2 fixtures. If you have the Salah money and you don't have Ronaldo, I think you should be shifting to Ronaldo because the game week they will almost certainly have a double in 22. It's very likely.
If you are
Zoph.
having 3 Liverpool players this week, if you own Rafinha this week, if you own King this week, would you be tempted to play the free hit this week in that situation?
It's an interesting
I'm
question.
talking about the free hit this week
And
because
I
some
understood
people.
your point. Definitely, it is a temptation because if you have like 6 or 7 players out, and now that we have 2 chips, you could argue there's a case to play it, definitely. But I think possibly if you can bring in players who have good fixtures over the next 3 weeks and a possible double in 22, I think there are going to be more better opportunities to use a free hit in the coming weeks. The second free hit.
I mean, so if these 5 or 6 players are out, that's a ton of your budget gone. But that said, you remove Salah and then you remove another big player. I wouldn't.
A lot of
recommend
people own
selling.
Antonio too. So I mean, this is a very pertinent question. A lot of people own Antonio too. So if he's out, then we're down to
Let's just
bare
update
bones.
people on Antonio. So Moyes said he tested positive for COVID a while ago. So he said he is likely to make the squad versus Southampton. I don't know if he'll start or not, but as of now, he's more likely to play than not.
Zoph, he's actually been double vaccinated. I was reading up, and he's been double vaccinated. And according to the latest rules, isolation for double vaccinated players is like 7 days only. So it's expected that he will be fine. I don't know what he says in the press conference. Maybe has a press conference today or tomorrow. But let's wait for more updates. But I think he should be fine. Hopefully.
Correct.
Fine for his 2.0.
But regarding the free hit question, I mean it does make sense. But I mean there are people like, for example, Foden. Now Foden can easily start and do well. He's not someone you'd buy on a free hit, right? This is not one of the weeks where I see the potential for a free hit, because a lot of managers, when you look at the plum fixtures this week, Arsenal, Norwich, a lot of managers already own at least one Arsenal attacker. A lot of managers own Ramsdale already. So where do you go to? I mean, you can easily get Son for Salah for a free transfer if you're going there, or Ronaldo for that matter. It just takes a hit or two. So where exactly is the additional net gain going to come from? Is it going to come from the United defense? I don't think I trust them enough to even
United
against Newcastle. I won't be surprised.
I think the key differentials that you might gain on a free hit this week,
sure.
somebody like a Kane that everybody isn't going to plump for. I think it's possible to get Kane, Son, and Ronaldo on a free hit. So something like that, getting in on a double Spurs defense or a double United defense could be a big differential this game week. Something like that sort. And you have to.
I get it. But like, those aren't exactly reliable picks in the game at this point in time, are they? I mean, it's a risk.
It's a risk, but
you don't want to be wasting.
Last season playing Brighton assets against Newcastle. This is United against
because of
Newcastle.
The XGC. I mean, it was always going to come good. I don't trust the United defense. I mean, I watched the game against Norwich and they were horrendous. I mean, I won't be surprised to see Newcastle score, honestly. And Palace have been decent this season. I mean, I have no confidence in the Spurs defense keeping them out either. So, I mean, it is a risk for sure. And I would rather just use it in a week where I see more potential for gains to be had. I just honestly take a hit or two this week and move on and set my team up for the long term. Focus on transfers, buying players who have, good fixtures till Gameweek 22. As you alluded to earlier, teams like Spurs, United, West Ham, just buy those players for hits if need be. I won't be too inclined to play the free hit.
That's the thing, right? Because the players that we want to get in right now, even for 19, 20, 21, are the players we want to get in for the 22 double, as things stand. But my let's and this is just us sort of brainstorming, because we are all
Yeah.
you know get soaking in this information right now. What are we really saving the free hit chips for then later? What is the potential gain that you're going to make later in the seasons off? You want to shed light on that?
I mean, there's just going to be much more double game weeks, much more blanks, and I think things are going to be settled down a bit. You could even buy players on free hit and they still not start. It just seems like a bit of, I don't really feel comfortable deploying a chip. And like Bakar said, let's say this week you want to bring in a Son or Ronaldo, you want Son and Ronaldo for 2021, 22 as well. That for me
Yeah.
negates the fact that most of the players you bring in on your free hit, you won't have them for 2021. Sort of makes that lose its appeal for me.
I
Exactly.
I can agree with that. I can agree with that.
And
There's
also,
a couple of things here. I mean,
go
we
ahead.
reacted to touch on the Game Week 21 scenarios of what are the likely scenarios of a double in 21? We did sort of mention earlier that we
Correct.
are sort of
It
we
seems
might have a
it's very
double.
unlikely because the Carabao Cup would need to be switched to two legs. They probably won't want games the same night and all that stuff. But for a few teams like Leicester who are playing in Europe, they're still in that Europa Conference thing. They don't have too many free midweeks later on, and they still have 2 game weeks that are pending. So in that case, you
Okay.
might see Leicester added on, but now Spurs already are in the Carabao Cup, so it seems unlikely. Chelsea are already in the Carabao Cup. Liverpool are already in the Carabao Cup, so that reduces the possibilities of it. And I don't think it's as simple to move that to one leg as it was with the FA Cup. There are a lot of TV rights and all that stuff at
Yeah.
play with the Carabao thing. So a double game week
Yeah.
22, 21 does happen. I think it will be a very small one, if at all.
Yeah. So what about Watford? That's something which is relevant because a lot of managers have King
We just don't
Dennis.
know yet because this will possibly be now. I'll just go back to that bench sticker. I think this is possibly Watford's third postponement. Yeah, they already have 2 years, so they have now 3 fixtures to be scheduled. But of course, the advantage with Watford is they're not in any European competitions, and most of the teams that they have
Okay.
to play, I think one of them is Burnley. This was Wolves, and I don't remember the other one. Maybe you guys. What was the other one?
Palace.
Palace. So see, all three of these guys, none of the
Yeah.
teams are in Europe, right? So you can effectively play them
Yeah.
in any midweek later on down the line. So it would be a bit harsh to shove that
Fair
down
enough.
the throats in Game Week 21 itself and cause scheduling conflicts, TV conflicts with the Carabao Cup and stuff.
And
Okay,
Watford have a ton of
another
players going to AFCON as well.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Another possible scenario that this might throw up is a double game week of Brentford and Leeds at home for Liverpool and game week 22. Diego Jota, triple captain, anyone?
No, that's the thing now. Liverpool now have 2 fixtures that need to be rescheduled. That is the Leeds one, and also they're going to have I think, because Game Week 27, Liverpool and Arsenal play each other in the Carabao Cup. So that fixture has already been postponed. So now Liverpool are pretty much guaranteed 2 doubles later on down the
Yeah.
line. And having Captain Salah for every week now, I can't not put the triple captaincy on Salah this season. That's
I
what it
mean,
comes
he
down
is
to
the
me.
most dependable captaincy option in the game.
That's the
So
thing
it
with
makes
Jota,
sense.
and Jota can be so frustrating on his day, right? You know that ultimately he
Yeah.
can have like ton of chances and miss them. So I'm not really keen on the triple captaincy on Jota.
And we don't know how Liverpool are going to function without Salah and Mane. Like that's also an
Yeah.
important factor.
That's a
But
very
Yeah,
you
valid
don't
point.
exactly.
you don't get a better set of fixtures for a team like Liverpool than
Agreed.
Brentford at home and Leeds at home. Like that is literally as good as it possibly can get. Maybe Newcastle should be thrown in there, but that's about it.
But one thing now that might happen now, because literally every team in our squads are going to have a double now. You know, we loaded up on Chelsea. Besides City, we might end up with 13 or 14 double game week players in 22 without using any chips, just by the natural way the fixtures have fallen. What do you guys think about using the bench boost chip? Now, I was initially completely against it because we are struggling to get 6 to 7 players out every week, getting 15 out.
In game week 22 is off?
Yes.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, with all the chaos around, I really like to play the bench boost with the wild card a week earlier, and with the uncertainty around, I don't think I will be doing it in game week 21. I mean, the last thing you want is a random postponement when you played the bench boost and
Correct. But hear me out. What
some
I'm
fixture
saying
gets
is
called off.
you won't need to play a wild card in 21. You're likely going to end up with, like, looking at our squads, for example, in game week 22, if you do the right number of transfers, besides your second goalkeeper, you're going to end up with 14 double game week players anyway. You might need to do a transfer for your second goalkeeper and then you get 15. Now, I would rather wild card out of that. And and keep in mind, double game week 22 starts around 14 January. So that's still about 15 days from now. We can expect the chaos to die down a little bit. Maybe it's more than hope.
I mean, yes. I mean, this is a good point. Of our squads will be well set up by then. But I mean, let's see where we're at that point in time. I
We're
mean,
just
if we're
thinking
still
out loud.
getting
We're just thinking out loud
exactly. I
completely.
mean, if we're still sort of getting last minute cancellations in and around that point, I mean, it makes no sense. But if um, if that is sort of died down, then I can see the argument for it at that point.
Because ultimately, like, I would much rather wildcard with having a leaner bench rather than going with, like, a heavier squad, how we traditionally do later on in the season. Like, let's say, because the next big double game week is expected to be around 37. Now, we already know that 37, the double game week is always a little bit tricky because of rotation at the end of the season, which teams have certain things to play for. And it's leaving this benefit of the second wildcard very, very late. It has a lot more potential than just like, for a particular set of double game week fixtures.
I like the idea of bench boosting in game week 22, but you don't need to make that decision right now. You make that decision only after game week 21, given how the state of play and how the state of COVID is at that point.
Precisely.
But people, especially who are on two keepers, and we have a lot of FPL managers on two keepers at the moment because of the postponements and scheduling that we've had so far. People are going in with two keepers. They should especially consider this strategy because then they can wildcard out of two keepers. They can wildcard out and have a slightly leaner bench. I was thinking about this, though, Zoph, because Salah is in the form that he is in this season. Do we really? I mean, we've been comfortably having two people on the bench through this period as well, because of the value that your Cancelo, Reece James, Trent are offering, because of the value Jota is offering, because of so many value picks. We don't really have anybody in the 9 to 11 million bracket standing up. I was just thinking macro. So I think you're going to be very comfortable having a slightly not lean bench as well, just as we've had so far this season. What's your thinking there?
Absolutely. And once, like, let's say after Salah comes back, after Chelsea's blanks are over, wildcard those guys back in rather than, like, I think that's possibly a better approach. And then you can use your two free hit chips which you'll have. You can tackle the blanks and the doubles that come along with those free hit chips instead.
Exactly. I mean, bench boost is the worst chip out of the lot comfortably. Like, so if I can get it out of the way, I do that.
I don't think so. I disagree. I mean, bench boost has always been very good to me. I just really like playing it, and whenever the potential is there
that's
for it
because
to
you're
be,
a fan of wood.
The upside is big. Yeah, not really, but okay. Anyways, Zoph, I was thinking
just 1 second. Yeah, so I do agree that it's been nice to us and all that, but playing the game is a lot easier in terms of how you're planning the squad, because you're always restricted looking at those 4 players on the bench if you have a bench boost still in play. And like Zoph said, I like using the wildcard for a long term rather than having a short term advantage where you're wildcarding just a week before the week in the double and you want to play it only for that game week. It's just too short term. I think a wildcard just gives a lot more advantage in terms of the points you can gain over a period of 7, 8, 9 game weeks. So if COVID permitted, the scenario is looking good. If your squad is in good shape, if you're especially having two keepers at the moment, I think it's a good strategy to go for. But don't decide that right now, and don't even make transfers on your bench right now. If you're close there, and if you're 2 or 3 players away, maybe a -4 or -8 away from getting rid of that bench boost chip effectively, do it then. We don't even know what the fixtures are going to look like in Gaming 22 at the moment, so we can't really dictate too much. I wouldn't make transfers on the bench right now. But the question I want to ask, and we've had a lot of these coming in on Twitter at the moment, and is what if you still have wildcard 1 at the moment? What do you do then?
You must have the patience of a saint to still have it.
Exactly. I mean, how is that even remotely possible? That's
many questions.
Very, very rare scenario. Possibly just set yourself up for Game Week 22 by doing it right now. Just get United, West Ham, Spurs. That's the simple answer.
So I wanted to highlight this. Now I've deleted the Game Week 22 fixture over here, which is what we are assuming this will be a free hit. And you look at the teams that are still at the top, despite that Game Week 22 game, you still see United up there, you still see Spurs up there, you still see West Ham up there. So our point is, irrespective of that 22, whether the double goes ahead or not, these guys still have good fixtures and you can start bringing them in now. So
Yeah.
Your wildcard can
Earlier,
build around that.
I think if people were looking at wildcarding next week and then aim for a bench boost 22, so that they can wildcard out of that with their second wildcard after 22, I think now you wildcard this week. And the play would be to sell Salah. The play would be to keep Trent and Jota on your bench
And
so that and
Cancelo even,
Cancelo
in my
on your
opinion.
bench and have a
Yeah,
bench boost ready squad for 22. Get 11
exactly.
playing
Yeah,
out right now. Something of that sort because you're gaining in numbers this week as well. So you don't
yeah.
wait because you get rid of Salah, build a squad, use that Salah money in your squad, hold on to these three crucial players, and aim for a bench boost 22. If it doesn't happen, don't use the chip there. Use it a little later in the season, but aim for it. That would be my advice.
Precisely. Anything else to
I
cover?
want to I want to dive a bit into the forwards here. All three of us have been advocating bringing Ronaldo in for the set of fixtures to come. So I want to sort of discuss the strikers in
Definitely.
play. I mean, the four template forwards. Let's go through them one by one. There's Antonio, Lacazette, Watkins, and King. So for those, for example, selling Salah to fund a move to Ronaldo, right? Which striker would you sell? Would you sell Antonio before his fixtures? I don't think so because there's a double coming up as well. Even if he has COVID, and let's assume he's ruled out this week, would you sell him? I don't think so. Lacazette has Norwich this week. Uh, King is blanking, but then has three sets of doubles to come. I think Watkins is probably the easiest sell out of them because he's likely to have the Leeds fixture postponed as well. So even if this fixture goes ahead against Chelsea, it's a difficult fixture, and then he has a postponed fixture which is basically blank. So I think if you own Watkins, it is an easy sell to Ronaldo if you can afford the move. But what for those with the other three? How do you fund Ronaldo? Who would you sell?
King, in my
Laka,
opinion.
easy.
For you, Laka, I was thinking more of King because I think if you have somebody like Salah and King, something like Ronaldo and Bowen in, I think is an easy out.
Yeah,
So
that is
Zoph,
an
this is actually sort of pertinent to my team as well. So I brought it up early because I'm actually looking at Lacazette out as well because that way I can get Son in early and I can keep King who's likely to play in the upcoming game weeks. I mean he's essentially 2 points up on Lacazette anyways, and Lacazette after this week has Wolves and City, which are tough fixtures in my opinion. So I mean I know it's rough probably selling him like before a fixture to Norwich, but I think long term that's still the play.
it's comfortably the play in my opinion.
Yeah, I
Lacazette
agree.
can hit a hat trick and Ronaldo can blank, and my answer won't change 10 out of 10 times because Norwich are good right now. Newcastle are not. Newcastle are terrible. You saw that goal that they conceded, that first goal that they conceded against Manchester City. Those are the calibers of defenders that play for a team called Newcastle United at the moment. And Ronaldo and Lacazette are not comparable either. Lacazette is essentially a false center mid in that Arsenal team at the moment. I saw that game that they played against Leeds United. His role right now is to link up play. All the three that are playing in the front three, Odegaard, Saka on one side, Gabriel Martinelli on the other side, are playing much further than Lacazette. Lacazette drops deep a lot of times. I don't know if he has it in him to play fixture schedules so closely as well. I think Arteta will use his squad. And Ronaldo is the clear captaincy option. So if and I have Lucadia as my third forward. So if I can find a player that I like when I bring down Salah, if I sell Salah and go Lucadia up to Ronaldo, fair enough. But I don't have any comms selling Lacazette. I don't want to look at the letters NOR in caps at home and be worried about that. Norwich are good now.
Right. So I'm not disputing for a second that Ronaldo is better than Lacazette. The question here is now whether to sell King or Lacazette, right? And I think there is a case to be made both ways.
Yep.
Because ultimately, like you Bakar said, King, now we are assuming that even the game week 20, even though let's say they do put a team out with limited training, etc., you don't expect Watford to be very good in game week 20. So let's say you get rid of that. And then after that, you're talking about game week 21, which is Spurs, not a great fixture. And then 22, obviously, you expect the double to be a lot better. You have Newcastle and you'll have another fixtures to drop in, then Norwich and all that stuff. But they're going to lose a lot of the team. You have Sar who will be off to AFCON. You have Dennis who will be off to AFCON. So in terms of creativity, the team will definitely be stifled a bit. So I would be okay going without King in the doubles.
Yeah. Happy. King is not a factor for me at all, which is why. But I'm just thinking, I honestly would be comfortable selling any of them for Ronaldo. I wouldn't have any
Absolutely. But the
comms. I
question is
think
which one? Which one? Because like you said,
Yeah.
Bakar makes a good point that you can get, let's say if you sell Lacazette, you can get a Son in that midfield spot
Exactly.
instead of the
That's
Bowen.
the play. Yeah.
That's the best, and that is a valid point. That's a good point because ultimately Son and has obviously better value than Bowen, but I like Bowen for these fixtures as well.
Yeah, Southampton at home is a good fixture for Bowen.
Yep, and you look good
I
yesterday.
like
Played
West
up
Ham
top.
for these fixtures. Yeah, I mean Southampton, Watford, these two fixtures in particular, are exactly the kind of fixtures I think would suit West Ham because they aren't exactly teams who'd park it.
Cause so
Yeah, in
just for
that
that simple
situation,
reason, just because Laka has a fixture this week, right? This week we're all struggling to get 11 players out, and ultimately, what I realized in the last few weeks is you play what is in front of you. Laka has a good fixture. You have looking at possible 13 to 9 points against Norwich on the table. You don't throw that away.
yeah, agreed.
Yeah,
Agreed.
sure.
If you have a choice between the two, I agree. You get one extra player and you sell King because King doesn't have a fixture this week. I don't have that option.
Correct. But
So,
just as a template
yeah.
discussion, what we happening, if like
Yeah.
if you can afford if you're looking at a compromise between Son and Bowen, I think getting Bowen and selling King instead of Laka is the play.
Yeah, because some people might be in my situation as well, and I just want to mention that if you're worried about selling Lacazette, who has Norwich at home, for Ronaldo, don't be. I think you go ahead and make that move anyway. If
I'd
they
like
don't
to
have
raise
a King.
another point here
Yeah.
because I looked into it a bit deeply, and another point I'd like to raise here is that if if anyone decides to keep Lacazette this week, and I think the fixtures and the timing of a transfer to Calvert-Lewin is falling perfectly in place because you look at Everton's fixtures, they're actually very tempting, and Arsenal's fixtures get considerably tough from now on in, and Calvert-Lewin is expected to be named in the squad for Boxing Day. So even if he
Ooh,
sort of
really?
takes a yeah. There are reports that he'll be in the squad. So even if he takes a couple of games to get running, you'd expect him to be featuring by the time Game Week 22 comes. So I think he can be another factor in the times to come, especially given how good Everton's fixtures are. You look at the ticker, they're Zoph, they're right up
They're
there.
right on the top. I saw that earlier because I've been
Exactly.
looking at Gray
Yeah.
possibly in the that
Exactly.
completely caught me off guard. I thought DCL wasn't back till the new year. That's interesting. Very
No,
interesting.
he's in the squad. Yeah.
But I do want to urge a word of caution. If people are looking to jump in on a DCL right now, don't. I think you need to watch him
Yeah.
play
Right
for
now, I
at
don't think
least
so.
30
Yeah.
minutes twice because you don't know how a
Yeah.
player is going to respond after these long-term injuries. And they've been quite mum about what injury problems he's having as well. So don't rush into getting Calvert. You need to be watching Dom for at least 30 minutes. He needs to look sharp in those 30 minutes. Only then you go for him. Otherwise, I wouldn't touch him.
Right, and there are some people mentioning in the chat that Everton also might have some COVID issues. So, like we are saying, please keep an eye on the postponements. You never know what happens with that.
Mhm.
Right.
Anything more to talk in terms of chip strategy? I think we've covered it pretty exhaustively.
Yeah, just want to quickly summarize and I'll just ask if you guys are agreeing or not agreeing. If you have been hampered by the postponements this game week, you guys are in favor of taking slightly bigger hits instead of using and deploying a free hit chip this week because you see more advantage for it being used later.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
But then you're not using your free hit because I think if you're taking that big hit in 19, you're committing to not free hitting in game week 22 as well. If you're getting in a Spurs and United players, again, it depends on the way the fixtures fall in 22, but that looks like more likely than you're saving free hits for later. That's what you guys are
Yeah,
saying.
but as you pointed out earlier, like we own the likes of Cancelo, Jota, Trent anyway, so the teams are relatively, Ronaldo as well now. So I mean, the teams will relatively be set up for 22 anyway. So I mean, I don't really see too much value addition, given how our teams are set up at this point in time for free hitting in 22.
Okay. And wildcarders that people have that first wildcard at the moment, you
Play it now.
recommended playing it this week.
Just play it now.
Play it now.
Keep your
Yeah.
Jota, Trent, and one more benchy if you want, and load up on United, West Ham, and Tottenham.
First.
Yeah.
Cool. What do you guys
Another
think
point I'd
about...
like to raise here is, before we move on.
Go on, Bakar.
Yeah, so Arsenal could have a blank in 25 as well now if Arsenal or Liverpool, either of those sides, win their respective fifth round FA Cup replays, the fixtures.
No, but
So
25
if
is
that
already
is the
blank
case,
for
then
25 is already blank for Arsenal because they're supposed to play Chelsea in the Club World Cup. We're talking
sorry,
about
I wasn't
27.
aware of that.
We're talking about 27.
Yeah, I'm talking 27. Yeah. So if 25 and 27 are blanks, then Ramsdale is. Do you think he's a sell for someone like De Gea before 22?
I
because
mean, you
Arsenal's
deserve.
fixtures are stiffening up after this week.
But bad fixtures don't necessarily mean poorer hauls for keepers in my head.
Goalkeepers. Yep. You're looking at
Yeah.
3 to 4 points for Ramsdale though.
Yeah, 3 to 4 points. You could expect that. Yeah.
Or a 10-pointer. Arsenal no mugs defensively.
Yeah.
They're pretty decent now. So I mean, yeah, okay, they'll concede in 2 games, but the third game he will pull out a 10, 11 pointer.
Correct.
And that does happen the way Arsenal are playing.
And as far as I know, 25 and 27 are pretty much confirmed blanks. I don't think there's anything element left. I think 25 is confirmed, and I think 27 also is very
So you think
likely
the
to
place to
go.
keep him regardless of the blanks
I think
and the
so.
tough fixtures?
I think so. Probably like if we are discussing like, wildcarding in Salah back, wildcarding in the Chelsea defenders back around like, 26, 27. That's when you can possibly look to sell him, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Nobody's wildcarding Salah back in 26. Everybody's getting him
Getting
back
him
in
early. I
24.
mean,
The
whatever, like
moment-
in the Chelsea like
Yeah.
players or whatever, just thinking out loud.
yeah. Right. You want to look at the fixture ticker and just game by game analysis,
Yeah,
team by team analysis.
let's do a quick look back at the 4 matches that took place last weekend. Let's talk about Leeds, Arsenal, and a certain player that's on my radar as one of my transfer this week, Martinelli. Talk to me about him. You're quite keen on him.
Yeah, he's a absolutely top player. I was and then, I want to give a shout out to Bakar as well, because both of us are long FML FPL listeners, and Walsh, the guy who hosts the podcast, has been a Gabriel Martinelli fanboy since the last 3 years. And Baker and me have that in our subconscious at all times. And the first instinct for both of us was to go for. We had a chat, and the first instinct for both of us was to go for Martinelli. Then, being the obsessive compulsive FPL manager that I am, I had a look at those Arsenal training pictures, and there was this one picture where Martinelli was wearing a mask and he was right behind I think Tierney, or Zaka, if I'm not mistaken, and that's why I went for Saka, just to be safe, and just because Martinelli was apparently less nailed. But Bakar was asking this on the group chat a couple of days ago, whether he thinks that Saka to Martinelli is a luxury move. I don't think it's a luxury move. I think it's an upgrade. Like, in that team, in my opinion, Martinelli is the superstar. He's got that eye for goal. He's the guy playing the Oba role, who's making the runs right behind the defense at all times. Leeds were open, so you don't take that Leeds game into consideration. But I looked at the highlights in the games before that as well. He's the guy sniffing out the goals. He's the goal scorer in that team, considering the Bobby Firmino-ish role that Lacazette is also playing in that team. So great value, great pick. Nothing else to add.
Well, my question primarily, I'm worried about his minutes. With the fixtures so close and all that stuff, and you see ESR coming off the bench to score every time, right? It's not only a matter of time before ESR gets a run out. Won't that be at Martinelli's expense?
This is like you asking me about Phil Foden, right? I rate him so highly, and I wouldn't worry about too much about the minutes. That's my opinion on Martinelli as well. He's just a class player, and I think the skill set that he has will make him start above the other players, and I think you go for him.
Bakar, where are you at on this?
I think he's a very solid budget enabler to own. I mean, even if you're not playing him every week, despite the tough fixtures, I think he's a very solid option to own. I mean, his numbers are very good. So over his last 5 starts, when you look at the XGI, expected goal involvement, only Salah, Mount, Sterling, and Jota are better among midfielders. So he's doing really well in terms of that. I don't think Arteta will drop him in this kind of form, because he's really looking sharp. So I think if you're looking for an enabler to fund the expensive players like Son or Ronaldo, I think Martinelli is a good shout, regardless of the fixtures actually.
And Zoph, even tactically speaking, there are only two pacey guys in that Arsenal team. That's Saka on one side and Martinelli on the other. You can think about Pepe as well. But there are rumors just before the pod started where Oba looks like he's going to leave the club in Jan. I think he's done with Arsenal. I think he's done with the club. So the skill set that
Yeah.
Martinelli offers on that left-hand side as well, I don't think anybody else quite offers. I think that Oba type role where they're looking for the player to move inside as a forward, make the run beyond the last line of defense, it's Martinelli's to lose. And if he keeps his performances up, there's no reason for him to be dropped. I don't think ESR offers that on the width. I don't think Pepe is good enough player to offer that in the wide role as well. So that's a factor for me.
Interesting. Yeah. So I'm looking at him as my Brownhill replacement. So he's going to be pretty much my 8th to ninth attacker, and it's very tempting because it's also sort of an advantage now because I see the template is largely entrenched with Lacazette as a third Arsenal player, right? Where if you have the option to even move for Martinelli. So I'm possibly looking at that option.
Yep. There's one other player that we can talk about in that price bracket, and he was in the opposition, and that's Rafinha. And the reason I mentioned Rafinha is because if you're set on free hitting in 22, then these are how Rafinha's fixtures read. Uh, Blank this week, you're not going to get him this week, but after that, we have Aston Villa at home in 20. We have Burnley at home in 21. We have Newcastle at home in 23, but I think this becomes a moot point now because Leeds are the ones affected with COVID. So we don't know what they're going to look like in the next game week also because it's so close. So forget what I said in the last 30 seconds.
Right.
Anything to add on from a defensive perspective?
Nothing. Ben White had a
No.
brain fart, denied us the Ramsdale clean sheet. Not much else to add. Wouldn't be buying ESR, wouldn't be selling ESR. I'm sure he'll come off the bench again to score.
Arsenal likely to have a double in 22?
Yes, because they have now.
Yes.
They also have two fixtures that require rescheduling. The Chelsea one,
But
and
it's a
also
tough
the
one.
Tottenham. Yes, there's going to be likely Spurs
Apparently it's a
away
tough
and
one.
Chelsea
Yeah.
or Liverpool. The Liverpool one is unlikely
Okay.
because I think there's still some permutation to that, but it's
Yeah.
likely to be, I think, Spurs and Chelsea.
Exactly.
Right.
That's a tough double as well.
Right, especially for an
Next,
attacker.
then-
For Ramsdale, I don't mind it so much, but for an attacker, definitely. Newcastle, Man
Next up,
City.
Bakar's the new Man City ITK. So why don't you tell us about this game, Bakar?
I actually didn't watch it.
Oh yeah, he was with Foden. He was with Foden.
I mean, there's not much to say. I mean, Cancelo is an obvious pick at this point in time. Bernardo Silva has been playing a bit deeper in time, especially with KDB back. Having said that, he still had two big chance involvements over the past two games. So has been unlucky not to sort of have gotten away with to come out of those games with at least one assist. I think they're like selling Bernardo at this point in time is a luxury transfer. I would keep him if I had him because they're more pressing transfers to make. Similarly, I think the same is the case for Foden. If he plays, the upside is huge. I mean, he's had like a 32% goal involvement, which is the highest among of all Man City players who played this season. So the ceiling is there for everyone to see. And I'm not sure whether Pep will sort of continue to keep benching him because he'll probably in fact want the story to die down. So I think he might give him a run out in this fixture. I was looking at the City forums and like the fans are split. Like 50% of them think that he'll start, 50% think he won't. So I mean, your guess is as good as mine. I'm no in the know on this one.
He didn't give anything away in the press conference. He was like, "I'm not going to tell you what that's between me and the players," and that's all he said.
Yeah.
So, what do you do, Zoph? If you're a Foden owner, what do you do?
I mean, I'm sure you have other fires to put out this week. If it was a normal week going ahead, then you could possibly entertain the idea of moving him on to somebody who's going to have the
Yeah.
double in 22. But this week, you just keep him and pray.
If you don't have other
Exactly.
fires to put out, and if I can upgrade Foden to Son, would you do it?
Yes. It
Okay.
is a no-brainer.
I can afford the same move, but you do have Salah, don't you? So
That's for me to decide later if I think Salah's worth the captaincy in Leicester because that's a strategic call. I'm just asking if you can upgrade a Foden who has a 50% chance, let's say, of playing in the next game. What would you do with him?
I mean, I probably like Foden to Son on paper is a good free transfer, but considering the fact that you won't have Ronaldo this week, then I would prioritize Ronaldo.
Look at this in isolation. Assume I have Ronaldo. I've figured out how to magically get Ronaldo into my team. I'm just talking about this because people might be in this position. What do you do?
Then do it. Yeah,
Sell.
sure.
You
Why
think
not?
you think you do Foden to Son? And would
I
both of
think
you
so, yeah.
and would both of you sell Foden ahead of Bernardo at the moment?
Yes, minutes.
Yeah, probably because Bernardo is more of a nailed-on starter. So
That being
I
said,
guess.
his position was quite negatively affected, I thought, with KDB back in the side on the limited
Yeah.
unit side. So what did you guys think? You both have Bernardo?
Both
I don't.
Fernando and Foden. So it's a little bit of a decision as well. KDB did affect Bernardo's positioning, I'd said, but like Bakar said, Bernardo was in the box. It's not like he was not out of the box. Bernardo did clock two really big chances in the previous two games as well. So it's not a hard sell. It's not
Hmm.
like I'm scrambling to sell Bernardo. Oh, he's a poor pick because he's going to continue play. City are still one of the highest goal scoring teams in the country at the moment. It's just about Foden. You think Pep is done with the punishment? One game is good enough to teach Jack and Phil a lesson? Genuinely asking.
I think it's just there's 3 games in a close period. You'd expect them to start 2 or 3, and it just goes back into the normal rotations wheel now.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything to talk about when it comes to Newcastle?
Target, target, target.
Exactly. I was going to say that.
Cool. Wolves versus Chelsea. Zoph, your team. Why don't you talk us through?
This game was boring. We were absolutely. The thing is, right, when you ask for a postponement and then you're forced to play the fixture, the things can go 2 ways. Either you adopt a siege mentality, think the world's against us, and go hard, or you can completely just sulk. It was the latter. We just pretty much had one chance all game, that Pulisic attempt right at the end, which gave Alonso the 3 bonus incidentally because of the big chance he
Yeah.
created. But defensively, we were quite solid, and Kante makes such a huge difference to the team. Such a huge difference to the team. We go from being like, top 2, 3, like mid-table like defense to a top-tier defense just because of Kante. So as long as Kante is fit, I think even defensive, like, clean sheets, even the tougher fixtures we have coming are not out of the question. Keep
So
both
Alonso.
Alonso and James. The attacking threat has gone down quite a bit from both of them. In terms of like Alonso, in terms of shots, he's gone down a bit, but his chance creation is still up there. And his performances in general have seen a bit of an improvement. I think now he's getting into a little bit of rhythm. He played quite well. He started in the Carabao Cup also last night, which was interesting. Played the full 90 minutes, wasn't subbed off at any point. So I think in terms of fitness, he's much better now. In terms of sharpness, he's much better. So I would probably, I think, let's have a quick look at the ticker then. Now with the likely double now for Chelsea in 22, I would probably hold on to those guys till then and start getting them rid after. Because obviously you have
Alright.
City. The City away fixture isn't good for a clean sheet, but Arsenal at home is still a good fixture for your Chelsea defenders.
Fair. Fair. And it's not like Tuchel struggles against Pep as well. He likes being against Pep. He likes that matchup.
He likes that, but I don't think we'll keep a clean sheet at the Etihad. Move on to
But
Spurs.
anything to
Liverpool.
talk at? I just want to touch upon Wolves, and I just want to mention that Wolves, if your captain or if your team is playing against Wolves, I wouldn't be confident captaining that fixture, even if it's home against Wolves, because Wolves are defensively quite a unit. They suck the life out of a game completely. So that's something worth mentioning. And if your defenders are playing against Wolves, I think that's one of the best fixtures your defenders can get because they don't look like scoring at all these days. So I just wanted to touch that
Yeah.
on Wolves at the moment.
Definitely, they've pretty much decided to abandon the whole attacking philosophy and gone back to a defense first thing.
It's level 2 of Nuno ball. If you actually think about it, it's worse than what it was like when Nuno was there. So
They didn't have one chance, I think,
Yeah.
against us, one proper chance. It was just one size header. I think that I can remember. But
Remember
that's
the
about
time when Adama Traore was a bandwagon early in the season?
yeah.
Right. I think
Spurs,
Spurs.
Liverpool.
Yeah, Spurs we've talked about. Do you want to add more over here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you're in the market for a cheap defender, Ben Davies is or Eric Dyer are the way to go. Who do you guys prefer between the two?
Davies for me because of the overlapping,
Yeah.
whatever you call it, because of the runs he makes forward.
Overlapping, I think.
Yeah,
But like,
he's
yeah,
got.
but I mean, he's in the same bracket as someone like a Dallo. Dallo, by the way, has been spotted in training today. So, I mean, he's probably likely to be available for the weekend. Now, United have a good run of fixes as well. I mean, a lot of people are actually in the market for a cheap defender. Would you go for a Spurs one or a United one?
Ben Davies.
Ben Davies, right? Because Dallo, I don't know. I just don't think, like you mentioned it earlier, right? One horror show is all it takes for Wan-Bissaka to come back.
I think Davis is nailed.
Absolutely.
And
not.
I was just
Yeah, he's nailed. Absolutely. Yeah.
I was looking at some of the stats also for Spurs, and in the last 4 game weeks, after Son and Kane, Davis is number 3 for penalty box touches. So he does get into the box, and he's quite a threat on set pieces as well. I've seen him in the box on quite a few set pieces. So
Yes.
I like Ben Davis as a pick. Do you think now that Sessegnon is injured for about 10 days, I reckon, because otherwise Reguilon wasn't an option because I think there might have been some rotation between Sess and Reguilon, but now that he's injured, do you think Rex is an option?
Yes, I like Rex.
But would you pay the 0.7 more for him over Babies?
Yes, I would.
I
You would?
would, yeah. I think the potential is there. I mean, whenever he's played in the little he's played under Conte, he's looked really threatening. So yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I don't know. I just feel more comfortable with Babies. I think he's a more long-term pick, and he's in the box and has decent enough attacking threat as well. So I don't know if he warrants the 0.7 million above Rex. That's where I am at them.
Fair enough. I just don't think he has the open play goal threat that Rex has.
All right. And let's say, just while we're on topic of Liverpool, Liverpool do have a double game week that reads Brentford at home and Leeds at home. And Salah and Mane are not going to get playing AFCON. Who do you get in as your third Liverpool player?
Firmino?
Firmino? Firmino's back from the dead.
maybe will Minamino be playing? Minamino maybe a second defender. Depends really. I mean, depends
Robbo
how
and
the
Van
fixtures
Dijk
are
are
actually.
good picks, I reckon.
Yeah, but ultimately you'd be locking yourself out from like a Salah move like later on down the line, right? You'd have to
Yeah,
potentially like sell Jota
Yeah.
as a matter of necessity. So I'd rather just leave that spot
Yeah,
open.
exactly. I think that's a very good point. Rather not go there, despite the upside of the fixtures in
I think-
Game Week 22.
Just again, I think loud thinking. I think you go there if you are set on wildcarding immediately out
Of it immediately.
22.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah,
If you want to
exactly.
wildcard in 24 and get Salah back right
Yeah.
away, that's potentially way to do it. Right, to just discuss the next week's fixtures, Game Week 19.
Yeah, sure.
and
But I mean,
20.
the third pick could have serious potential, though. Could have serious potential.
Have you guys ever seen a player lower than 3.7? I haven't. Simicas is 3.7.
that to a Liverpool
Liverpool
defender,
defender.
who might come into the reckoning.
And a legit player, like a good player. He's not even poor. Whenever he's on the pitch, he's a good
player.
pick. He's a good player. Yeah.
3.7 is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like
Somebody in
Foden, good
the
on and off the field.
chat shouted the legend Origi. I'm not confident going Origi. Nah, not
Yeah.
for me.
Only if he's a
not
sub.
really.
I think there's a stat that versus his starts versus subs, and it's like a huge difference. Whenever he starts, he's quite rubbish, but as a sub, he's gold.
Right. Captaincy this week.
Ronaldo for me.
We're not having an early kickoff, which is such a shame. I was looking forward to an early kickoff.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. No early kickoff on Sunday kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Also, both the
Liverpool,
early kickoff
Leeds,
games are
and
on.
Wolves.
Both the early kickoff
Exactly,
games are
and
on.
Wolves, Watford were the ones. Yeah. I wonder if they reschedule. I don't think they will.
That being said, this potentially is an advantage in terms of postponements because you have about 5 fixtures that will be 1.5 hours right before deadline that we know for sure will be going ahead.
That's great,
Yeah.
actually. Like, guys, if you're thinking of making your transfers until 15 minutes before deadline, don't do it. Stop visiting all the price websites today. Don't plan moves. Do nothing. Don't think about what your potential moves are. Just go on to fpl.fantasypremierleague.com only on Sunday, only an hour and a half before deadline. You don't think about clicking those buttons before that. Because
Even hour and a
who
half, we
waited
did
even
it last week. Was it enough?
Yeah.
Literally leave it till
Yeah.
half an hour before.
people who, I mean, I know people who made reasonably, I mean, Simon March was one of them who reasonably got in Watkins 40 minutes before deadline, and that cost him as well. Because I think the announcement came in 25 or 30 minutes before. So just wait as late as
Yeah.
possible. Like, that's the best piece of advice. And it's a good point that you bring up because we could potentially have news. There are 5 games that are getting played at that time and highly owned players in those games as well. So just wait.
Definitely, Jessica. And we should have clarity. And I like the fact that all these postponements they've announced today, right? Because it's all possibly they want to take it like not leave it late for Christmas. Don't make teams travel on Christmas Day and stuff like that, you know. So I do think we'll get the announcements on postponements earlier than later this time.
Are you worried at all that the United game is on the next day?
It's not
I
ideal.
was gonna ask
It's
that.
not ideal. You have to keep your vice captain ready.
It's not
But
ideal.
that being said, United we know have
But the-
almost the entire squad back. Newcastle, I think they've already had their
Yeah.
press conference, and Eddie Howe hasn't mentioned any further positive cases. So, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Right. So, let's talk captaincy.
I think let's just talk about we talked about Ronaldo. I think in my view, if you just don't want to hold on to Salah whatsoever, I think Son is possibly the next best, or maybe you guys have Lacazette. You guys, like you mentioned, you're not too impressed with Lacazette's potential, right?
I'd captain Gabby over Glaka.
See,
I'm
says
that
it all.
confident about that.
With City, I guess the only person you can really captain with confidence is De Bruyne. West Ham, I don't
Yeah,
think
because
it'll
Yeah.
go.
are you comfortable captaining Cancelo against Leicester? Let's
I've
start
never.
talking about
I
this.
guess we should possibly consider. I have a bit of a blind spot. I've never done it in 12 years of playing. I don't think I'm going to start now. But he is an
Yeah,
option. That's a good point.
the only games, and I think there is merit to it, and when you're thinking about captaining these premium defenders, is when we're sure that these teams are going to have complete control, which is what you'd expect if City plays Newcastle, for example, where they're going to hog 70-75% of the
Exactly.
position.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's when I think you want to go for something like this. It's a legit option, and it's something we need to open our mind to, because if you're looking at the stats, Trent has outscored Salah for 6 out of the last 8 game weeks.
Something like that.
Something like that. So just
Yeah.
worth monitoring.
And something about Walker also, I think Pep was a bit unclear. He said Walker's still injured. They asked him whether he's going to play the next game. He asked me, he replied, didn't you hear the answer to my previous question? So that means Cancelo is likely going to be right back, which is he's much stronger on the right than he is on the left, because he
Yeah.
plays in a much more central role. So yeah, that completely went under my radar. Cancelo is a very good shout. He'll probably be my vice captain, because that's a fixture will be going ahead, right? Because that's the 8:30 kickoff.
If I own Son, I'd put the vice on Son for sure.
Yeah, that's also true. That's
Yeah.
also at the same time.
Yeah, just want to ask a question, because we haven't mentioned a certain Harry Kane. He's double the rate of statistics. What did you think of his performance against Liverpool? I think it just deserves a little more conversation.
It was much better. Much better. And he played the sort of role, remember when we did the whole content presentation, we expected, right? In terms of the way the forwards to play. But like Bakar mentioned, I think that game was a very unique tactical setup, because they were pretty much targeting Liverpool's high line. So
Did you? My question to you is: did you think Kane looked sharper?
definitely.
Because the whole theory,
Definitely I did.
the whole theory is Kane is good when he's gotten a bit of rest and he's had a long period of rest. And the reason he looks so laggy and old and like he has no pace and no acceleration is because he's been played and flogged on the pitch and plays 90 minutes every game and doesn't get any rest, and that's why he's tired. So do you think this 10, 12, 13-day rest period has rekindled a Harry Kane?
I don't think it's just that. I think it's just that he's been fortunate enough to avoid COVID, so he's probably had more time under Conte to learn and to settle in a bit. And that being said, like now that you go back, remember that one chance that Son squared to him? Kane took a little bit of a touch before knocking it in. I think original, like maybe Kane last year hits that first time and that goes in.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's entirely there yet.
Yeah. And I just don't think it's worth paying the 2 million in price. If not,
Do you think there's a case of do you think there's a case of going Kane over Ronaldo as a differential? I mean, the fixtures are there for Spurs.
They
issues are there. I don't think Kane's a bad pick, but I just much more comfortable. And also, it in my case, it's been being burnt with Kane over a period of 5-6 weeks, so I haven't recovered. But I do want to mention that his performance against Liverpool looked fairly decent. He did look a little sharper, so I just want to add that to the equation. I still prefer Son at the moment.
Yeah, the one advantage probably of Kane over Ronaldo is the guaranteed minutes over this busy period. We don't know the Ronaldo. We expect Ronaldo to play all the matches, but he might not. Kane will play these matches.
Yeah, just thinking about the schedule here, I'm just going to
Yeah,
talk
I mean,
about
I've been burned by Kane. Yeah, I've been burned by Kane as well, but I don't really like to let past experiences get in my way of forward thinking. But the main thing for me is the fact that I just simply think that Newcastle and Burnley is a better set of fixtures than Palace and Saints away in the next two. And I just think when captaincy is an option, I would rather captain Ronaldo than Kane. So just the two fixtures are playing with me. Otherwise, I think if you look at the next 4 or 5 as a run, I won't be surprised to see Kane outscore Ronaldo. But just the next two are making me lean towards Ronaldo.
Even after missing 2 games, Ronaldo is top of forwards for shots, shots in the box, shots on target, and big chances this season.
Yep.
Move on to the next.
It's 3 games in 7 days, though. I'm just looking at the schedule for Ronaldo. He's playing Monday evening, then he's playing Thursday evening, and then again
Sunday.
on Monday evening.
That's not bad, actually. Most teams have it far worse.
Yeah, and then he's got a 1 week break. Not a 1 week. Then he's got a long break after that. So, and he's rested also. So I'm not too worried about that, actually. Not too worried about that. Monday is reasonable.
Yeah, because a lot of teams are having to do something like Sunday, Tuesday.
Exactly.
That's
Exactly.
interesting. I hadn't made note of that. That makes me a lot more confident. Something we should all take a note of.
Yeah, I mean, and we do have sort of a sample size here as well. When he did play against Arsenal and Palace, I think the
Fixtures
Arsenal
were
game was on
close.
Thursday, and then he played against them, I think, on Sunday. So I mean, he has played. Ragnick has played Ronaldo in succession. So I mean, that we can only pray and hope for the best in
Yeah,
this kind
and
of
all the
situation
rest
because we
he
don't really have any.
all the rest he had to get. He's gotten it now, right? That's something also
Yeah.
that you think about, and think about how fresh Spurs looked against Liverpool as well. I was just happy to see them match pool toe to toe in that game. It was a great game. I wish the refereeing was better. That's all.
Absolutely. So we'll
Yep.
probably not be having time to do another pod before game week 20. So we'll have a quick discussion on those fixtures.
Wait.
Go ahead. Go back.
No. Bakar is talking, and I don't think you guys can hear each other. That's why. So
He's
both of you
probably
talk.
reconnecting. I see him
Yeah,
now.
he's probably.
He's probably reconnecting. Yep. Let me just see what's up with his
Sorry,
connection.
sorry, I can't hear you.
Yeah.
You're
Zofar
back
is
with us.
talking. Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. So
Sorry.
just talking about the game week 20 fixtures now as well. Now, the Arsenal Wolves, in terms of captaincy, not that great. Spurs, Southampton, not that great. Chelsea, Brighton, nah. Who do Man City play? Man City, Brentford, Cancelo again, not that bad a pick. United, Burnley, I think in terms of fixtures, you'd have to say United have the best fixture again in 20. What do you think?
Yeah. And Liverpool.
And Liverpool away to Leicester, right?
Yeah, because of how poor Leicester have been defensively this season, they will be tired and knackered as well. Let me just look at Leicester's schedule. So they play in 19 on the Sunday evening, and then they play Tuesday. That's a very short turnaround.
Yeah,
So you
they're
expect
gonna be
them to be
tired.
tired.
Gonna
Gonna
be
be
tired.
tired, and they fielded a pretty strong team last night as well. In the Carabao Cup, Vardy and Daka and Madison, all three of them played as well. So they are definitely going to be badly tired. This is two of me on the screen now, Zoph.
So I think I plugged in Bakar's thing's gone. Oops.
Uh,
I've been doing all sorts of weird things. I'm just gonna change the slide back.
All right, cool. Not a problem at all. But yeah, Ronaldo looks like a great captaincy shout against Burnley as well. Salah, if you've held on to him, is a good captaincy shout. Spurs away to Southampton is another captainable fixture. And looking at that Brentford versus City fixture makes me think about holding Phil Foden as well, Zoff. It's just if he plays that game, it's a money game. So uh, might be worth holding on to your City midfielders for that game as well.
Mm-hmm. I've lost the background, but I've got Bakar up here, so never mind. Let's just power through it.
All right, cool. We'll move to our teams.
Yep.
Bakar and Zoff, you want to give any thoughts on captaincy
That's what I just
in
want to
game
ask.
week?
We didn't have Bakar, but things got lost again. We'll come back to it. Cool. Let's move on to our teams.
Cool. Who do we have first?
I think this is my team up first. I've got Ramsdale in goal, James, Alonso, Cancelo, Livramento in defense, Brownhill, Bowen, Salah still in the squad despite all the other guys. Salah, Saka, Ronaldo, Antonio, and on the bench I've got Foster, King, Jota, and Trent. One free transfer,
Actually,
0.4 in the bank.
I want to actually ask you into the question because the good part is you and me have quite diverse teams. So what's your potential chip strategy at the moment? Of
I'm definitely not going to free hit in 22.
okay, yeah, you're very well placed for 22. Are you considering bench boosting in
Yes,
22?
very much so, because my plan moves this week. Now what I'm thinking is Salah will probably go out for Son. I considered upgrading King, but the problem is there are no real forward options I like. I have about 8.6 to afford, and I don't feel comfortable punting on Calvert-Lewin yet. Like we discussed, I'd rather give that a little bit. So most likely, I thought it would make sense to upgrade Brownhill to somebody like Martinelli, right? I don't have that third Arsenal player. And that would also put me in a good position to do a possible bench boost, because it upgrades Brownhill to somebody who has some potential in that game week 22 as well. And Martinelli can always be benched for the game week 21 fixture against Man City and stuff like that, right? Because he's going to be like my 13th player.
Your perception of Martin is going to change after this game week once you own him.
I hope so, because
guarantee you that.
as per such, I would still always play Saka. ahead of Martinelli, and maybe I need to reorient that.
Yeah. You just need to watch the highlights of the last 3 or 4 games, and I guarantee you your mindset in terms of how you perceive these players to be will change.
Bakar, are you back with us? Let me just have
Yeah, he said yes.
Yes, I think no. I think now he should be back. I've unmuted him. Should be popping up on the
Okay.
screen also any minute. So Bakar, any
Cool.
thoughts
Can you
over
hear me?
here? Yes, I can hear you. Can you see my team up on the screen?
Bakar, can you see his team on the screen? Any thoughts? I think we've lost him again. Let's just
Yeah,
move
let's
on.
just power
Yeah,
through.
I can.
Hey, he's
No, I
here.
can.
Okay.
Good things
I
will
can.
happen out
I
of the
can.
gate.
Yeah, I heard that he wants to do Brownhill to Martinelli. I think that's the easy move. That's
Yeah,
no brainers off. I hope you can listen to me
finally.
now.
Oh, the pod is now complete. Finally.
The only other option is somebody in the chat mentioned is Swarang Verma mentioned that you could go Broja, and I think if you're looking for a striker, I do not mind Broja as an option. I think he's a real unit. I think he's a real player. I don't really care about the fixtures too much. Also, when I'm looking at Broja, I like his price point as well. I think he's better than all the other Saints strikers as well. So I think he's a real option.
Yeah, but the only problem is I can't really rely on Broja with all this fixture congestion and all the games are so close. Not comfortable with that.
Yeah. Fair enough.
We'll move on. This is, I think, your team, LR, with Locadia.
Yes. Yeah, Locadia up front, all ready for his brace. But yeah, I'm currently with Ramsdale, Livramento, Cancelo, James Alonso, Foden, Bernardo, Saka, who's got my armband at the moment, Locadia, Antonio, and Lacazette. On my bench, I have the 3 Liverpool boys, Jota, Trent, and Mo. Probably looking at a hit this week. I haven't really thought about the moves, but Ronaldo, Son, all the names that we mentioned, Bowen, all of them are on the agenda. And I'll see where that takes me. I'll probably end up doing something like Salah to Son and Lacazette to Ronaldo. That's where my thinking is at the moment.
Makes sense that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I should switch slides back. Could you just repeat again what you were doing? I was adding Bakar's team.
Yeah, just thinking of doing Salah to Son and Lacazette to Ronaldo. I don't even know if I can afford that because we got the Liverpool news just an hour back.
How much do you have in the
and I need
bank?
to-
I'll be able to tell you.
I don't even know that. 1 second, hold on. I'm quickly going to tell you. I've got 0.9
You're
in the
so
bank at the
temperate.
moment.
How much?
0.9.
0.9.
0.9.
So
yeah.
effectively makes Laka 9.2. And you're looking at Ronaldo, right? I don't think you can.
Yep.
Because Ronaldo and I don't think you can.
that would be affordable.
That's not affordable. It's not. You're about 0.4, 0.5 short.
Yeah. So then I need to figure what to do. That's where I am.
You can go Martinelli or Bowen.
He already has
Probably
3
Bowen in
Arsenal.
yours,
3
yes,
Arsenal
yes,
already
yes.
done.
Might
Yeah, but he's
just,
selling Lacazette, no?
Oh, that way. That
Oh
way.
yeah. A great shot. Good shot. I like it.
I still think I'd go Bowen over Martinelli.
Precisely. I'd do the Bowen Ronaldo thing which we discussed earlier.
Fair enough. It's a good shot.
Move on to Bakar's team. Bakar, can you see it or do you want me to read it? Are you still with us?
Yeah, sure. I have Ramsdale.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I can go through it. I have Ramsdale in goal, double Chelsea defense, James, Alonso, Trent, Cancelo, Foden, Jota, Salah, captain as of now, Saka, Antonio, and Lacazette. On my bench, I have King, Livramento, and Brownhill. I'll probably have to play Livramento and Brownhill, given the number of postponements. I'm planning to sell either Salah and King for Ronaldo and Bowen, or either Salah and Lacazette for Son and Ronaldo. I'm definitely going to be buying Ronaldo as my captain this week. I'm just not sure how I will be funding it, but these are the moves. What do you guys think? I think you guys probably prefer the Bowen move, right?
Yes.
Yep. Extra player.
Exactly.
Yeah. Fair enough.
No.
Cool. Do we want to do a...
No brainer. Yes, let's do a short Q&A because I'm sure people have lots of questions this week. So
Yeah, guys,
Yeah,
shoot
let's
them
go.
in, shoot the questions in. Not bad. Yeah, we were expecting it to go 2 hours, but I think we've been quite succinct with our opinions, and I think we've covered everything we need to. So,
send
right,
in your
go on.
questions.
If you can afford one of Son or Ronaldo this week, you go Ronaldo for the captaincy. All 3 of us are on the same page there.
Agree. The chat will probably catch up to the stream in a second. By the way, we hit almost 1,200 concurrent viewers today.
Great.
It's
Thank
a
you,
new
guys.
record,
Thank you
new
for
milestone
joining
for
us.
us.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Yeah. On that note, just let's take the Q&As. Make sure you're hitting like and subscribe as well while so many of you all are on here. Top 3 cheap defenders. Okay. I think Babies. Who else is on your radar? Would you go a Burnley defender now?
No, this still
No.
not looked good enough to me. I'm just going to pull up the fixture ticker really quick. Everton, why not? They've not looked very solid, but I think Everton are a decent shout. Maybe West Ham. Sufal served his suspension, I think, last night.
Yeah. My issue with West Ham is that entire first choice backline is injured.
Correct.
So that's the problem with West Ham. I don't know if I trust their defense enough at the moment.
Yeah, I think Baby is probably Aston Villa.
Dalot would still be in there.
Dalot would still
Actually,
be in there.
one low key player to get in right now, which I'd be quite comfortable with, is a Harry Maguire. Something of that sort, because Varane is
Yes.
also back in training. So we do have a better looking defense. He's not exactly cheap, but he's like a solid option for the next few. I don't mind getting a Maguire in there at the moment, who's nailed at least from that United defense. And I would go 2 cheap Spurs defenders. I'd be very comfortable going in on Babies plus Eric Dyer. That would be my opinion.
That's a good point. They're probably
Yeah.
both from Spurs then.
Yeah. Nehal has sent in a super chat. Foden, Jesus, and Salah to Martinelli, CR7, and Ron. Like it, no complaints.
Yeah.
Martinelli, CR7, and
Son.
on Son. Oh yeah, I really like that. That's 3 players.
Yeah, for a,
-8.
it sets you up in the long term. I'm happy with that.
Yes. I have Antonio plus Liverpool triple up SOS with 1 free transfer.
Yogesh, take a -4, -8. Set your team up for long term.
Yeah,
by
but
United
I think keep
Spurs.
Antonio, and
Yeah,
the
keep
Liverpool triple
Antonio.
up, sell Salah.
I think a lot of people will be taking hits this week. Like -4 is like I think almost every single person will be on a -4.
Correct.
Exactly. Are you guys going to use Wildcard in Gameweek 21? No, I don't think any of us are going to be using Wildcard in
No.
21, especially if you're directing our transfers towards Spurs, United, West Ham players right now, because those are the teams likely to have a good double in 22.
Bakar, you just want to try joining back really quick? It feels weird without not seeing your
Sure.
face on screen.
Yeah.
Sure.
Ryan has sent in a super chat asking if you could have only one, Bowen or Son, who would it be? Son. Different category of a player. Swadi Abdulaziz is asking, would you do Salah and Gundogan to Son and Martinelli? Yeah, I like it a lot.
Salah and
I'm for it.
Gundogan to Son and Martinelli. I mean, I would just, you don't have to do the Gundogan move, do you? Because Salah to Son, it funds it by itself. I just wouldn't sell the playing player this week. Simple as that.
Fair enough. And Brentford next for City as well. So
Exactly.
that's also worth considering.
Wouldn't bother with that.
Want to sell between Gabby J and Watkins this week? I think Gabby J, because less nailed minutes.
But Watkins might have a blank the week after.
I would probably sell.
And the fixture this week isn't great
Watkins.
as well. Huh? It's Chelsea. I would sell Watkins.
Yeah, I mean, even if Jesus plays one off Leicester or Brentford, I think that's better than Chelsea and blank. So
I disagree. I think Watkins is just a better longer term hold. Jesus is somebody you're going to ooh and ah over every game week. I don't like him as a pick. Villa actually have Leeds, Brentford, United, Everton, Leeds.
But keep in mind, the Leeds
Newcastle.
is likely to be blank because Leeds training ground is shut now for 2 days. It's almost
Yeah, I
certainly
know.
a blank.
But if you're talking about a long-term hold, because Gabby J is going to play 1 and 2 games anyway. That's the way I see it, especially since Sterling has impressed so much on the right-hand side. Which the role, the spot was his. I don't think that spot is his
And I would
now.
agree with you completely long-term, but the way we are living in short-term, I would say when you know a player is almost guaranteed going to have a blank the next week, and the guy you have, just keep the guy you know has a fixture and has a possibility to play.
Devan is asking us to share our O-rank rank. Bakar Bakar's at 36. Zoph is at 36k. Zoph is at
around 47k.
47k. I'm at 30k. Nuclear atoms. Foden or Bilva out. I don't know, man. It's something I'm struggling as well, and I don't want to make that decision because I don't know what Pep's punishment is going to be like, and I don't know if it's going to go on for long. But like Zoph said, Pep will need to use his squad, and I can see him playing one of the next 2 games at least. So yeah.
Right.
If you had to sell one, both of them said they'd sell Foden first. Because minutes. I'm not sure.
Getting an Arsenal asset just for one game week potentially is worth it. What do you think?
Why just for 1 week?
Exactly.
Arsenal have good midterm
I mean, no,
fixtures.
the fixtures are Wolves, and then it's City, and then it's the likely double, which is also quite difficult. So I see the point he's making.
Yeah. This makes me lean Bowen over Martinelli, but Martinelli is just a good player. Bowen's also a great player.
It does.
I think except for City though, I'd be okay with my attacker in any of these games. Very honestly, I think Spurs, Derby, they're motivated to play attacking football. So yeah.
Yep. I see. I get your point there.
Yeah. Thoughts on Madison? Good pick, streaky player.
Do you see his goal yesterday?
See his goal? My God, that was so good, so good, so good. He's just streaky. I tweeted after that immediately. Remind yourself constantly. He's streaky. He's streaky. He's streaky. His fixtures are not really good in the short term, but after that, Norwich at home, Burnley away, the double is also potentially good, right, Zoph, if I'm not mistaken?
Yep, the double is also pretty good. We have an interesting question here. Somebody's asking, thought about Salah being completely rested for the fixture against Leicester. Why would he be rested? He doesn't have a fixture this week.
Zoph, Klopp has 2 games to play Salah before he's off to AFCON. So he's going to guaranteed play in both those games, in my opinion.
Yeah. So I don't think, and a couple of other super chats. We have one from Augustine. I have 5 players not playing. I think I should free hit since we are getting another chip. Augustine, we discussed this before. Buy in the players who have good fixtures. They have a good double. Don't use your free hit this week.
Because the basic thinking here is, Augustine, that the guys that have good fixtures in 19, 20, 21 also have a potentially good looking double. So it's like you're going to remove the players out of your free hit and then you're going to buy them back against next week because they potentially have good fixtures and a double. So that's the thinking there.
Correct. And Plus also mentions, Plus just mentions one thing: Leicester could possibly be one of the few teams to have a double-double. In which case, Maddison is absolutely a great shout.
Yeah, but the problem with that is that Leicester have the next 2 are very tough, right? City and Liverpool. So maybe after that, this is not the time to invest.
Correct.
Yeah. And another player I'd like to mention here is Cornet. I mean, Burnley have 3 fixtures yet to be scheduled as well. So, I mean, he could be a shout at some point in the future. I mean, I know the immediate fixtures aren't great. They have Everton and United in the next 2. But, like, after that, like, if they have doubles coming up, then that he could be a good shout as well.
Yep. I mean, just while we're talking about midfielders, I like Gallagher as well. Somebody was asking what to do with Gallagher. This is a fairly comfortable keep for me because the fixtures are good. You got Spurs away, then you have Norwich home, West Ham home, Brighton away, and I think their potential double is also really good, right, Zoph?
Yes, the potential double. One of the games is likely to include Watford, but again, it depends which Watford fixture goes in 22. They could not have a double in 22 as well.
But I'm comfortable. I like him for the Norwich and West Ham at home games as well. And especially because I think MacArthur should be really close to fitness, and Vieira has been playing Will Hughes in that team. So he's pretty much likely to play in the number 10 position, and he's involved in the attack. He's in the box all the time. So I have no qualms holding on to Gallagher.
Something made a point that Cornet will probably be off to AFCON as well.
Yeah. He will be Ivory Coast, right?
Yes. Good point.
So Sanjay Asapota last super chat. Bowen for -4 or Son for -8? Bakar, why don't you take this one?
Bowen, I think Bowen could match Son over the next few. I would have him for with the addition of 4 points.
Yep, makes sense. We do have one more super chat. Guys, please don't send anymore. We will be wrapping up in the next few minutes. Foden/Bilva, Laka, Salah to CR7, Bowen, Son -8. Or Salah King to CR7 and Bowen -4. So he's basically asking whether he should do the additional transfer for the Man City mid to Son this week for a hit.
What do you think?
No. Again, it goes back to the thing of like, ultimately if either of those guys play, I'd rather do that for a free next week.
Yeah, and if I was you, I'd just clear up my schedule and make sure you're on Twitter in case there's some ITK news breaking, because now the City game is the first game. So we could get some potential news close to deadline as well. So that's something to look out for as well.
Right. Super chats keep coming in, guys. Please don't send any more. We want to wrap up. Salah, Karan S. Salah to Son, Wilson to Ronaldo to fit these two. My options: Alonso to Davies and Foden, ESR to Martinelli, or Watkins to Broja and same Martinelli. Just trying to understand the question a bit clearly. So he basically wants to fund those moves. So his options to fund it are either Alonso and Davies or Watkins to
Alonso to
Broja.
Davies.
Or
Yeah.
Watkins to Broja.
Yeah.
And
I like Alonso to Davies. I have no comments with Alonso to Davies. I think you're going to sell Alonso in 2, 3, 4 weeks anyway.
yeah,
But
I don't
Watkins,
like
like you
Broja.
mentioned.
I don't like Broja as an option.
I think that's more of a long-term move.
I like Alonso to Davies.
And if you're wondering which of Foden and ESR to sell, I think you sell ESR. That's
Correct.
where I am.
Cool. Let's wrap up.
Yeah, thank you guys. We hope this has been useful for you. Don't need to make your chip decisions today itself. See how the fixtures are falling in 22. See what more postponements we have. And good luck this week. We'll probably see you around this time next week. We're not going to be podding before Gameweek 2020. But we'll see you before Gameweek 21. Good luck,
Right.
guys. And
Good luck,
take care.
guys. Merry Christmas.
Good luck, guys.
And Happy
Merry
New
Christmas
Year.
and Happy New Year. We'll see them before the New Year.
Merry Christmas.
Probably. Either way, just
Yeah.
remember, waiting till deadline, don't do any transfers. It's an absolute no-brainer. Goodbye.
Yeah, and stop visiting those price change websites for now. Just stop.
See you there.